Rob. I don't know if you want to kind of speak on his behalf, but I know you guys have been working close together since the beginning of keeb SR65. So I don't know if you wanted to say a few words about it.
Yeah, so hey, I'm Rob. Paul was my design collaborator on this project. Paul and I have worked on, I think, about four products now, and previously we were focusing on products that had like a direct ergonomic advantage, things that if you could improve the comfort level and the way that the person gets to interface with the tool, that overall the experience just gets dramatically better. And so going from our first product over to the keyboard felt like a really um, incredible opportunity because Paul and I are both incredibly computer oriented people. The talents that it takes to make modern products and do 3D design and mechanical engineering require you to use keyboard and mouse to get the job done. So we have a lot of direct interaction experience. Plus, we're both gamers, and my background specifically was I previously worked at NZXT developing cases and their liquid cooling platform, and then I had gone over and I was working at Asetek before going off and starting my own company. I've consulted with Dell Alienware. I'm currently with iBuyPower and HYTE, and that kind of resume just really builds up towards like I really feel like I got a great exploration of what makes a great system and wanted to get into what makes a great peripheral and get closer to the human and how a person really interacts with the digital world. And so the Keeb SR65 was totally that. It was I knew from the very beginning that this was sort of the keyboard is kind of a big conduit for our goopy human emotional side to be able to interact with the cold, hard digital world. And so I knew the keyboard on the top side wanted to be very human oriented, a lot of curves that are really comfortable for the hand to sort of find and just embrace. I'm sure everybody in this call has been on a deadline where they've needed to type something, where they've needed to express themselves, and you procrastinate because you are really concerned and overly hyping what you're supposed to be doing as a productivity. And so you tend, when you procrastinate, you kind of zone off into different dimensions of what the keyboard actually is, and you start to focus on its form and its aesthetics when you're not actually embracing it to use it to type. And so we really wanted to make those other dynamics of the keyboard really special because I feel like when the keyboard can on any level help you to make you feel more comfortable with who you are and what you're about to say and what you're about to express with it, that's a keyboard that's going above and beyond its duties, and that's what we wanted to try to achieve. So, like I said, I've been doing that for the system side of things for well over 10 years, and it's really exciting to start to take on that challenge on the peripheral side, which is getting closer to you.
And well, like we've never had an intention ever to just like design a rectangle, and I think that's part of like almost the shock and awe of like having this be released at all, right? I think that's a controversial point, but towards the ethos that we're all in alignment of this being created, it's like a part of the limitation of just keeping within the bounds. It is really part and parcel to like what the PCB is thought to be able to achieve, or what the software is only thought to be limited to be able to achieve, right? And so there's a lock and step of us developing the hardware side and the design side to kind of accentuate what the possibilities of software could do, right? That's we knowingly designed features of the key that I would even say are not possible with today's software offering, and the physical literally will match kind of the software side of what Keeb and an SR65 is capable of. And I think without me like kind of like I hope I'm not butchering this, but like that whole combination of things is really why we went to push the bounds of shape and design and contour of Keeb SR65, is because it's a statement both like on the external sense and under the hood, right? Is that where you think
Yeah,
it's a really good combination?
I would say that we design this from the user experience out. And so what a lot of other vendors are really guilty of is looking at what can we manufacture. The priority is what production abilities do we have immediately available to produce this, and how do we stay inside that box. We don't do that. We never did that. We never once considered if anything we do is manufacturable. What we do is we look at what are the ways that we can inspire the end user to really enjoy this. And we don't take any consideration as to is it manufacturable when we're in the idea phase, because we just want to focus on that like extremely ideal experience. We can always work our way backwards from that and try to figure out how to make that more economical, how to make it more producible on a wide level at a more affordable price. But during ideation and during development, we're always going to look for the perfect experience. How can we perfect how it feels in your hand? How can we perfect the ideal sound that the keys are making? And when we start there, like I said, it's always easy to cost down, but you want to be really honest about, oh, we're doing this because it's the good way to do it. And when you're starting the opposite direction and you're starting with your limitations, like you can't even dream of what could be better because you're starting with the existing way that manufacturing is being handled. And so you can't evolve into the next phase of how this could be better when you're starting with the immediate limitations of everything that already exists. So we want to start with how do we make this great? And then we figure out, is it even possible? And then it's how can we make this more available? And I think that's the thing that's really setting the Keeb SR65 apart from everything else that's in the keyboard market. It's sort of a production first mentality, and we have a human first mentality.
And that's funny. Just like being really close to the process of the Keeb is like we went full send into the design and theory and the feature set. And I think it's funny because like a part of the fear going into even the final idea of this was like, who's gonna first ask the question of how much this is gonna cost, right? Like no one really asked that, up until very recently. And when I say very recently, like within maybe a month or a two month period, it was us kind of like just kind of like dipping our toes into like, does anybody realize how much this could possibly cost? And so we've been designing it, to your point, it's like super capability and oh no, can't guess the, wait, how do we raise the channel limit? I think John, are you able to see that, or is it because I'm share screening? Because I can turn that off.
No, I can add them. They just need to join the town hall waiting room. I'll let them know.
Oh, okay, yeah, because it does say 25 out of 25, but I don't know if that's because.
Do we have like a limitation on our Discord?
I didn't increase it to 100 before we started the call. You can't do it retroactively, but I can pull them. I should be able to pull them.
Okay. So they have to be in like a staging channel first?
They can be in any voice channel. I just need to drag them.
Okay. But yeah, just to continue my thought is, this wasn't about, and as to why, it's funny because like I keep reading, I see the cache like IC thread and I keep reading it and I'm like, did we ever say GB? And because everybody mentions that it's a GB and I'm like, it's not. I keep trying to reply to things and I'm like, it's not a group buy. Like I've never seen us say group buy, and I've never seen us say.
It seems to be these implicit understood rules that
right.
if you wanna be a part of the geekhack crowd, you better educate yourself about how these things go, or else you are less than human.
And yeah, and so it's like I just want to make sure that we were clear that this wasn't ever like a group buy scenario versus like a pre-order scenario. And you know, I do have some like paragraphs explaining like what has happened so far, and like I think we could all like kind of explain that the January 5th was a tied date down to us really doing more of a CES reveal. There was a whole family of products, and I think I'm like embargoed to divulge all of the products, but like all of the family of products that were meant to be revealed, it just made sense with the keep there, and so there was this kind of fifth, quote unquote, fifth date that we were aiming for, and that may have seemed rushed, and you know, quite frankly, is rushed. But now that the CES complications have arisen, and I have this whole written thing up there in the product category, but you know, things were canceled, Omicron concerns. I would rather not divulge like how that has affected everybody. I think all of us here know the implications of what COVID-19 is doing right now, and just our general sense of wanting to stay safe. So all of that, I would even say, is helping the scenario that we have now to gain more feedback and to listen to more people, and that has already begun. So you know, even after the reveal of this week, we started discussions in this specific Discord for anybody who had questions. I know that pricing is a concern. Again, I'm trying to clarify that whole GB thing, and then you know, the dates were of concern, the finishes. So I really do want to open this back to the community here at large to ask the questions, and then any interesting tidbits of information that come from us, from the HYTE side. If you want to learn more about like what we do for some reason on a day-to-day or whatever, you know, that's totally okay. But I do want to open this up to people wanting to ask questions, and you know, I'm happy to have you guys unmuted. I'm assuming though that we would keep things like, you know, pretty civil in here too. So if it helps to go kind of like a hand raise or something, then we'll get you off mute, and happy to answer any questions. And I think that'll flow better for all of us too.
Hey guys, if you need voice permissions, just let me know in chat. I'll get you.
Or you could text it. You could totally use the text channel. Aside for adding okay, I saw that you added Barebones as a kitting. Will this decrease the price? It already has. So there is a, unless I completely screwed that up. Yeah. So in the section in kitting options, so what's been really a really cool progress kind of indication of us analyzing most everything this last week. There is a pricing and kitting and a breakdown of what that is. So if you're kind of going through the kitting options channel with me, so there's a full kit. There's a full kit, kind of like perfect out of the box thing that has all the original things that we wanted to ever include in this limited edition run. So that would have been just your choice of the Duroc 55Gs, the 65Gs, those are the L2s or the L7s, or the T1 tactiles. That would have already also included the Duroc V2 stabilizers, and that would have also included OEM profile caps that would have been compatible for ANSI and ISO. So you know, that's the full kit, and that would be $399.99. And then the Barebones kit right now would be the same colorway, of course, it's silver, but no stabilizers, switches, and keycaps, because, like, I mean, you're staring at me like I'd probably be the perfect candidate for getting that, because I'm going to go ahead and customize it. The other question was too is, you know, the long pole option. as with anybody, like what I'm doing, or if you have like, let's say like boba U4Ts for switches, the long pole option would long pole switch option would enable you to use any sort of kit in terms of keycaps, right? So I think that was a question the other day. I want to clarify that like the bare bones kit does a lot more in opening up the possibility of you using whatever keycaps that you want, because you're not locked into any sort of switch choice, and you can use long pole linears if you want. What's actually pushing it up to be 349, 399? I want to go out on a limb and say this is a Halo product, and this was not meant to be like a collection of like money up front or anything. I mean, you're clearly seeing that the design language and the machining language is going to push the manufacturing of this up, but it's not. This is not like us saying.
I can cover everything.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So, like I just mentioned a few minutes ago, this was designed around the perfect human interaction with the keyboard first, and that's just never ever going to be cheap. The majority of what's pushing the cost on this version is the aluminum plate on the top. I would say that that's probably more than half of the cost. Half of the BOM cost goes right to that top plate. And we're trying to play with the finishing of that because it ends up being a yield issue. It's a really large piece of aluminum. It's crafted from like every single side. You have to have low tolerance so everything fits together nicely. You have to have the finish be completely consistent around all these different angles. And so you end up, even if it's a satin finish, you end up with someone hand polishing. And because it's so big and so complicated, if you over polish one part of it, it's like you've got to throw that whole piece away and start again. So even the yield rate of these things, because we've never made them before, we're still figuring out the process. To make 1,000 pieces is kind of like the learning exercise to make sure that we can do this right, and that's just going to be expensive. The aluminum top on this keyboard, I can handily say is the most complicated piece of aluminum that's ever been applied to a keyboard. If you look at relative to the sort of $150 market, $200 market where it's Corsair and stuff, they're like a sheet of extruded aluminum that's being stamped down, and it's probably getting a horsehair brush. That you could probably manufacture that one piece of aluminum for under $5. And ours is many times more complicated than that, and that's where the price is showing. On top of that, we are using Duroc switches and stabilizers. They're not the cheapest switch that we could have gone with.
You can blame me for that one.
Yeah. I think at one point we're looking at Gateron, and we decided that Duroc was where we wanted to land. The goal of this keyboard was to be able to give anyone a kit of parts that they can end up with a fully functioning keyboard at the end of, and we thought Duroc was right in that spot for quality for us. And then the rest of it just ends up coming down to the electronics. There are a lot of LEDs in here, I believe 138 LEDs. We have 2 rotary encoders, and they are, again, not builder's grade rotary encoders. They are upgraded rotary encoders. So it's a package that there wasn't a whole lot of skimping on because we're trying to achieve a certain experience.
What is the so this one's for you, Rob. I don't know if you noticed, but I put in one of the product threads, I put mystery option. And so Lucifer is asking, what is this mystery option for the finish? Is that supposed to be a secret or just actually not known? And so my reply was, that is only something Rob can decide to share. You showed this to me earlier, and you told me not to show anyone, so...
Let me see how...
I won't do it, but you're here now, so maybe there's some peer pressure.
Let me see how I might be able to screen record. Let's see. Ciao. All right, is my screen showing?
Let's see it. Yeah, yeah.
So I want to be
Here we go.
I want to be extremely clear before I play this video. The factory has not committed that they can manufacture this on any scale. We have one prototype being made, and it looks so good that we are pushing the factory to even make a small batch of these. They're not cheap, and they are almost impossible to manufacture at this finish, but it really looks very good. This is the chrome nickel plated version of the aluminum, and it just complements the design so well. It really highlights all the curvature, the hard lines, and with the frosted polycarbonate below and the intricate LED effects, like this thing, it is the most impressive thing I have ever put my eyes on. It's like an engineered diamond in the form of a keyboard. There's just infinite areas to be looking, and I'm so in love with it.
I kind of figured that to kind of leak that there was a mystery option, I knew that it was going to be asked about, and so I totally forced you into this. I didn't know if you wanted to.
No, I had this open.
I was like,
I had it open. Guys, this project has been in development for like a really long time, and it's kind of like a comedian trying to still laugh at their own jokes. It's a difficult thing. When we saw this in the Chrome, it is the most universal showstopper of anyone who's ever seen it, and hands down, like, the most amount of desire I've ever felt for a product that I've been involved in. And so I hope that we can make some of the 1,000 in this finish. There will definitely be some sort of cost increase, but like...
Okay, so to clarify though, you're saying that now this is happening right now, so I'll put you on the spot on that one. But of the 1,000 pieces, if we actually get a yield rate that is not killing us, and we decide that there is a possibility for people to choose this option, this is a possibility within the 1,000 and not like 1,000 plus another.
Yeah, it might be. It might be like 50 pieces of the 1,000, or maybe 100 if we're lucky.
Okay.
It's when you do something like this, the finish rate is like, your yield rate is like, if we make these, I don't think I will ever have another product that will have such a low yield rate ever again. This is, I don't think I'll ever make a design this intricate ever again, because this, yeah. This is end game, like, period. Don't end game 65% keyboard.
We got a question from Wet Nuddle. So you guys have been talking about curvature, seamlessness of the keyboard, sort of molding it to your hand. Any particular reason you didn't go for a more ergo ortho style? Was it just to keep the gamer crowd wrangled in?
No, we started with the sort of outer bounds of what most 65s were kind of like, what the front height was, what the angles tend to be. It does come at a more aggressive angle, like without any additional risers on the feet. That was something that I had a very strong opinion about. I wanted a more aggressive angle. As far as ergonomics though, we have included magnets on the front so that you could have a magnetic wrist rest applied. We haven't shown ours yet, but there are plans for that. We're aware of like ideal wrist angle and support, such like that. As far as the idea of ergonomics, I think that this keyboard does the job of making your hand not be in strain. It just doesn't look like and King, correct me, like, is he talking about more of the hand rotation, like the split style? And is that what he's meaning by ergonomic? Like what I have, or
yeah.
Like, or is that what would be referred to as ergonomic?
I would say that the split Alice style is ergo, and that's what the community kind of like calls as an ergo layout. But I do want clarification on that. Did you mean that it was like split
style?
like a split style? Like what? Like I guess I'm also wanted some clarification on that too. But
Yeah, and if that was the case of what he was referring to, that's just a little too far beyond our wheelhouse right now. That would maybe be like a revision. I wouldn't have been ready to launch a first generation product that's an ergo split. Um, you know, we there's a certain amount of certainty that I want to be able to have in a form, and we're going to launch with a traditional 65 form off the bat, and then move on and evolve from there.
got it. Um, and Paskowitz, you have a triple sort of loaded question here, but I want to start with the first one. So, rotary encoders are in vogue and provide good utility, but what was the reasoning behind going big with your implementation? Big is important. Are they perceived as that important for media keys? For me, well, we'll stop with that first. So, like, so yeah, the rollers. Let's talk about the scroll.
So the scroll, the rotary encoders were kind of the first idea that got cemented in the project.
Okay, got it.
So I personally right now, and I know this is not necessarily in the tier of an enthusiast grade keyboard, but I have the Mountain GG Everest, which I think after currency conversion and everything is like a $300 keyboard. And I bought it because it has this like circle screen navigation thing, and I was like, oh, I that seems like a cool utility to have another input into my computer. I like that it doubled as a volume wheel, and you could assign it to things. But when I got it, it was kind of like a really big letdown. Like, to even change the volume when you have a screensaver, you had to like turn it an index and then turn it another index, because if you just started turning it, like, wasn't registering. And it kind of sent me down this path of like, how can we build better rotary encoders, and what could you do to make rotary encoders more useful to the system? That we've largely had a keyboard and mouse, and then you've added extra buttons to the mouse and extra buttons to the keyboard, and you kind of had all these small evolutions over time, but a rotary encoder never got a lot of love on desktop, even though on mobile it's been done a bunch of different ways, like with the BlackBerry, and then now we have touchscreens, which are, you kind of have a built-in digital rotary encoder on your entire screen. But desktops just never got a ton of love for them, and that really intrigued me, because they were pretty good at being precise control inputs, but probably a little undersized to be used in any intricate way. And I started to really wonder, what if you revealed more of the rotary encoder? Usually you're getting like half of it, or like a third of the top half, and then you're kind of blocked by the frame that goes around it. And I wondered, what if you could get more range on it, and then you could dial down, you can make it a lot less sensitive, so the hand could really roll over it, and it could really control with precision what you're setting. So, maybe that is just your Windows volume. And then I was thinking, like, I play a lot of Overwatch and listen to music, and I find myself having to change the amount of volume I want in my music or my game a lot, depending on if my team is useful and saying things on voice chat I actually want to hear. And then I had the idea of, like, why don't we have 2 channels of scroll wheel? We have many channels of buttons. The mouse has multiple buttons. Why couldn't you have multiple channels of scroll wheels built into a keyboard? And after we had that idea, it was then kind of, okay, well, what could you do with the rotary encoder that's not just volume? And so we started to investigate. We could use this with Adobe API. We could do this with OBS API, so that you can have like your system volume mapped to one wheel and your OBS microphone volume mapped to another wheel, or you could select your paintbrush size with it, or you could zoom in, or you could scroll a physical page. And then again, like my personal usage, to be able to control my music and my game volume completely independently of each other without alt tabbing, that was like a really exciting thing. So we decided to make this keyboard kind of an ode to the rotary encoder, and that's why they're on here. And I know it's almost comical to have them be on a 65%, but we sort of loved the contrast in there. There was sort of chocolatey, peanut buttery aspect of putting media keys and 2 large scroll wheels on a 65%. This is literally the first concept that I made. I made this myself, and everybody told me it looked like one of those old-timey accounting calculators. I've heard that some of the geekhack guys actually really like this design, and I'm very flattered. But we ended up evolving that, and it became a lot more like this guy. So the scroll wheels here, they're pretty much unchanged in the concept, but in the physicality of it, we moved to sort of the conical shape that would be, again, if your thumb or your fingers sort of found it, it's nice and enjoyable on your hand. I think you had other parts to that question.
Yeah, he goes, and then clearly the media keys, that seems last decade, and then other than most big brands having them, is the market really demanding that? And I think...
I know I'm demanding that. You know, I made this in my own reflection, and I made a keyboard that I wanted to use. And in product development, that's a lot of what you have to go by. I know a lot of other people will say things are in and they are out, but to me, I needed a keyboard that could pause and skip really easily because I listen to a lot of music and I really like that dedicated key there. And so that's why I put it in. And the really neat thing about these that you might not notice right away is they don't push down, they kick back. So your approach to the scroll wheel is mostly horizontal, and that's the same way you approach the media keys too. So you're not pushing down, you're sort of pushing them back. In the same way, if you reach your scroll wheel, you're pushing that back. So it kind of makes you more agile when your brain's physical memory starts to get used to these funky controls.
Very cool. And I think this one's for me. So Phantom, you ask, you're late to this, but obviously you got a good bit of flack on the GH thread. What are you guys going to try to show that you're listening to the community, and how will this change your process going forward with later projects, if any, in the keyboard space? So I got to commend you too, Phantom. I think in the onset of that, the GH thread, and this feels like a week ago, but it's literally like days ago. But and you were here with that too, and so and then you were here late night with me, like randomly till 1 a.m. and we were talking about that. And what you said, and some of the words that you were talking to me about, just audiences in general, and like the direction of this keyboard and its appeal. Your words really inspired me to literally generate like this whole category specifically for events like this. So, and then we even had a discussion, and you know, I sort of like to you, I said, I'm like, hey, what if everyone's right, and I take things back to the table. I'll discuss with the team, and we'll refine as many things as possible, provide clarity, in channels that that'll just be pinned for us, and so people can reference it. And so, and then you saw, I think, almost overnight or within that 24-hour period, that we're like implementing as much of that feedback as we possibly can, with, of course, a finalized ID. And so, like, I think even commending yourself, you have seen that I've provided as many things as I can leading up to this point, and I'm going to keep expanding that. Like, I think I'm going to create a whole FAQs and stuff. But even going forward, literally going forward, I think the lesson learned here is that, like, should we want to do another keyboard, we'd be happy to do this more. And then leading up to that, we really want to make this town hall thing a thing. And regardless of whether it's a keyboard specific product, the intent of just developing products in general was to involve the community as much as possible. And if there was any hard lesson learned, it would be to just like, hey, remember what you set out to do. And so, I hope those channels are at least helping out. There's been a lot of movement already in discussing a bare bones kit. Like, we super appreciate that kind of feedback. and we want more of it. So if it takes us doing more of these, if there's a cadence that you guys like, if it's like an every week thing, let us know, and we'd be happy to kind of just open the book and if I can get Rob to go and show off more leaks or whatever, then
I have no problem showing off links or leaks. I'm totally happy to do this weekly. I think the amount of energy and attention and consideration that we've put into this keyboard, it's very, very difficult to explain all of it. So much so that first impressions are like, oh, that looks like they didn't do any, like they just guessed, right? Like, and that couldn't be further from the truth. And we're totally happy to walk you through like the 20 steps of evolution that arrived in this very different place than everybody is at today. I'm sure those stories are really interesting.
And at the scroll wheels too, I just want to go back to that too, because again, this is going to be one of those. I want to test how far you take this one, but they're user replaceable.
Yes, and we have, I think we've made samples already in brass, aluminum, cedar, and we are looking
Cedar, like wood,
and we're working on getting walnut and oak in different stains.
Also, not just one tree. Okay.
No, yeah, because again, this is like
Okay.
it's not a vanity thing. It comes down to a tactile touch sensation, and so we're saying that the rotary encoders on keyboards today, they're kind of like, they're these dainty little things. They're integrated like the same size they should be on a mouse, but on a keyboard we've got all this real estate that the whole hand should be able to have control over, and the hand has a certain density of material that they really like. I know glass is getting extremely popular. People really like touching their glass on the cell phones, and so just imagine a frosted glass scroll wheel. Or if you're feeling a little different and you want something a little softer of a material, you can go with the stained wood. You can use a wooden one and an aluminum one. You can mix and match them to really kind of give you the tactile feel you want to be getting from the machine you're trying to communicate with, And I think that's really cool to start to make the peripheral not just the way that everybody else is making their aluminum rectangle, but making it something that your hand really enjoys touching and your fingertips really enjoy the grain of, and that looks really exciting and makes you feel like you're really happy to be here doing what you're doing right now.
I see and Paskowich, I hope I'm saying that right. I feel like that's the witch thing is supposed to be correct, but I'm butchering it. Let me know.
I like it's a Paskowitz.
It is wits or is it witch?
No, I'm pretty sure it's wits. Like
okay. All right. Yeah, we're totally
like Manischewitz.
He says it's a good example of a product that doesn't work well with renders. I would say, I'll split the difference and say that there are definitely angles that like accentuate the SR65 much more. But when you have it in person too, like when we 3D printed this thing and we were just like tossing it around the room, it was like, yeah, like this thing, like it feels like a good scale. I like the front height of it. I just like imagine typing on this thing, and so it's like just having it physical is such an advantage than over renders, and I think that's just 100% always the case. That's the sad part about this whole thing, is that we were supposed to we were literally flying someone over just to bring these prototypes and that crazy finish over, because it was meant for CES, and we didn't want to say that. We didn't really mention that because it was supposed to be some crazy surprise. That was the whole point of it being the thing on the 5th, but that fell apart literally yesterday, which kind of devastated everybody working on the CES plan reveal with the venue, people coming. We had all cool invites. We were outreaching to the community members, like any one of you guys would have come over to it and checked it out yourself. We were so open to physically having this in people's hands, that would have that makes all the difference in the world with a design of this nature. So
I think what what we're really trying to say here is there are things about this design that are not explicitly visual, and a lot of industrial design is catering to the sort of visual the visual plane of beauty, and a lot of what the keeb is tactile. It's a tactile experience that you really have to try in person. And so the photographs of it seem weird because there were decisions made not just with a photograph in mind, but with the hand in mind, with the touch in mind, with the environment around the keyboard in mind, with the ambient interactive lighting. And I think that's just a very different approach to a lot of what's in the keyboard community today. A lot of what is the aesthetic for the current enthusiast keyboards is very no nonsense. This is all here for very pragmatic reasons, and the improvement upon it is a pragmatic upgrade to improving the tool's function. And I think we've just put so much more consideration into how does the user feel using it, not just like the it's made out of such and such material and it's polished to this grit level, but there's something we're trying to tackle in the intangible of like, this is actually really enjoyable. I really, really like typing on this, and I really like it sitting in front of me when I'm trying to play a game or type a document. And I think that you can't capture that in the renders. Absolutely.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go forward in questions, and then I'll get back to your first question. So this is both from Inverse Key. He says, how is the keeb tactile? Does the aluminum give tactile feedback? But before you actually answer that, I think it's worth mentioning. So I've been trying to describe the finish of keeb in comparison to the kind of AirPods Max. Do you want to give any kind of hint like towards that actual feel itself, and then answer that question? I think more or less he is asking about like what makes the keeb itself a tactile experience. I think you answered the first part, but it's more of an exploration now about the finish. Tell us more about that the inspiration for that silver.
Yeah, so because of all the angles, it's you actually get to play with materials a little bit more. The more simple the design is, the more dependent that design is on the material itself. But when we were doing this design, we actually tried it in a couple different materials. We did a polycarbonate injection first. We wanted to see if this could be done as a full polycarb. And it was actually really surprising. We had already made the decision to go forward with aluminum, but the polycarb version that came out was like extremely impressive. But like I said, we've already kicked the ball on aluminum. And from there, it was like, okay, we know that this might become a polycarb in the future when we figure out all the intricacies of how do you tool at all these different angles. But this aluminum one, we have to make sure that this is like the halo. That if anyone is buying this product up front, it is our first keyboard. We're gonna make sure that you don't feel like this is our first keyboard. You're gonna feel like this is our best keyboard. The finish that we're working to achieve is something that diffuses light when it hits it, so you're getting something that's satin. But when your finger drags across it, it feels polished. And so that again, that's this sort of dual design mentality that we want light to hit it less harshly and get that satin view, but when the tactile experience is had with the finger, it feels polished, so you're not getting that sort of chalky feeling that you might get out of a satin or a matte aluminum finish. And so like that's probably what we're going to achieve with the upcoming silver satin aluminum. And then that nickel plated, like, that's gonna feel amazing on your finger. Just be ready for all the fingerprints you're gonna leave on it, because you're gonna want to touch it like all day long. That one we couldn't. There's no way we could come up with some sort of non-fingerprint high gloss nickel, but I think you guys will forgive us.
And it's funny because there's so much interest in the rotary, and another question.
Yeah, go back to the rotary encoder.
Yeah, he's asking the Alps encoder for the rotary encoder, but we have two of them. I don't know. I don't know specifically if our team has disclosed like what kind of actual physical encoder it is in there.
Not yet. We are still finalizing the rotary encoder, but it will be indexed, and we're trying to make the index. It's not a one-to-one. You can't just look at the pressure of a switch and compare that to the index pressure of a rotary encoder. But our goal is we want to match the rotary indexing to feel the same as like like probably like a 32 gram, or I'm sorry, I'm off on King. What
I think it sounded right. I think
yeah,
that sounds
30
right.
32
That's what I
grams.
remember. Yeah.
So again, it's less about specifications and it's less about which rotary encoder, and it's more about pairing the rotary encoder to what a switch feels like, so that when your fingers and your hand are moving, it's actuating at the same amount of pressure, and you're getting an expected amount of control.
And then this was actually a question in another Discord, and it was a question of, and this is bound to software and what I don't want to divulge this going into the whole software path because that's another topic. But if we were to kind of indicate the usefulness of the rotary encoders, was mentioned for in-app specific usage, right? Could you expand on what that could possibly mean for like creative people or?
Yeah, I think I went through it pretty deeply, but just to give you an idea, we want you to think of this less of a scroll wheel and more of an actual rotary encoder. And I know that the market for the enthusiasts have done a pretty good job of repurposing rotary encoders and being able to use those in many new creative ways. And we want to make sure that that is how users are seeing these things. It's not just for scroll, but imagine it for a linear selector. So if you are in Adobe and you can scroll and flip through your most used tools, you can increase your paintbrush size, you can up the opacity or drop the opacity or change the color linearly through a hue selector. You can use it to change your RGB settings on the keyboard itself. And then one of the things that we're working on right now is we have a future product, which I won't go into too many details of, but you could change its fan speed when that releases. So it's the idea is a total system control. Apple products have always benefited from this sort of tight-knit ecosystem where the one hardware can control the other hardware. In the PC world, I feel like we're very uncoordinated in that regard. And so, we're a peripherals and a components brand. And so the components that we launch will be integrated with our peripherals. So you could have a tighter, more overarching system control from where you actually want to use it, not just like buried in some system software setting.
And that's funny because like in today's offering, at least I think in terms of like software, it's just so limited to what rotaries can be assigned to do, and most things are so kind of like individually created for files and then flashed, and it's like one or two people work on a project and magically the rotary can do some things, but it's never been like
it's definitely a
true environment for.
It's definitely a second class input as far as peripherals go, right? Like we are a button pushing people, and knob turning people have always played second fiddle when it came to full support from software, and we want to change that. We want to be user first people and take the inputs that feel the most native to what you want to do, be able to control that even if it's not immediately understandable how that could be approached. I will say the 2-channel rotary encoder was way more difficult than I had imagined. That was something like we put that idea up, and it lived on the project for 6 months. And then I turned to the engineer and I'm like, hey, we're good on that, right? And they're like, what do you mean 2 channels? I thought they both do the same thing. And like we had to do this entire deep dive really quickly on like how can you have 2 independent channels of scroll functioning at the same time. There's not a lot of other utilities out there on keyboards that are doing that, and the way that it usually happens with like volume mixers and those types of inputs is heavy control and integration with the audio drivers and Windows, and so you can't actually use them for a lot of the other Adobe stuff we want to do. But I'm so pleased that we were able to figure out that dual channel rotary encoder deal.
And Lucy, you asked, wouldn't using something open source be more beneficial? And I think this one's hard because, and this goes to way back a comment that someone said, the rotary encoder itself in the enthusiast keyboards that we have now, and myself included, right? You start to kind of phase out your novelty feel for them, because in your mind, they are quite limited. In your mind, you're like, oh, well, if it can only do volume, I'll just stick to my mouse. And you get reminded of the limitations of the scroll wheel that you have in front of you because you think it can't do anything else. And that's because the software out there may not be able to be easily applied to have you think that the rotary wheel or the encoder can do something else, right? And that's the problem, is there hasn't been proper, or there has been strained application of what's out there right now to do, or at least attempt to do what we're also trying.
It really ends up being 2 products. We have to make the software, and then we have to make the hardware peripheral, and the software itself. It is its own product, and getting the coordination between the two is not trivial, especially when you're pushing all these things. It's hard enough to make a piece of software that does all the normal things that everybody else is already doing, but then to go and in version 1 do the dual channel rotary encoder stuff and have it do all sorts of mapping on rotary encoders, that's something that we had to figure out in-house. There really wasn't a lot of availability for us to use something open source. And then when you layer in what we're doing with the lighting effects and the screen mirroring and the music sync at low latency, we home grew all of those technologies to be the best that they could possibly be and outperform anything that's on the market. In the enthusiast space alone, just like enthusiast space for keyboards, there's not a lot of bandwidth for them to be pushing the software. And then in the gaming side of things, I think everybody understands how terrible gaming hardware company software is. I from NZXT Cam to Corsair IQ to EVGA's whatever it is, they just don't seem to be that amazing. And what we wanted to do was put in the same amount of energy into making a incredible piece of software, and then make a piece of hardware that reflects how good that software is. And these dual rotary encoders, I think, are the embodiment of the amazing software meeting the amazing hardware to redefine to you what turning a wheel is capable of.
And lastly, too, I know it's the top of the hour, and didn't know if there was a time limit.
I'm good on time. No, let's keep going.
Yeah, okay, cool. I don't know if it helps do you guys want us to kind of just, go key shot, or, see the renders in real time or something? Maybe it'll help. Oh, I get a question from Big Euro, who's the keyboard for. The target audience is normal keyboard enthusiasts want it.
For
gamers.
I can explain that. So,
yeah.
I've been working in the PC hardware industry since I was 14. I started working at NZXT when I was 14. I'm 31 now, and the track that PC gaming seems to be on is more and more about creating that better experience. And that's kind of an ironic position for PC gaming to be in, because any hardware that's labeled gamer is like the opposite of that. Like if you saw a product that said gamer, you would assume you're overpaying for something that's doing nothing for you on the technology side, and probably at best weird looks on the visual side, and probably at worst like garbage construction. Like it's just not very well built. But in reality, PC gamers are an evolving bunch of people. They are kind of evolving at the pace of human technology. And so every year, Intel and AMD are pushing out new chipsets and new CPUs, and NVIDIA has a new graphics card, and then there's a new game that requires all this new hardware. And you're kind of on this cycle of upgrading your things and finding the better really often. And so the gamer side of peripherals, I think, is like on the cusp of really meeting the enthusiast side of peripherals. I don't think they're as far away as they were maybe 2 years ago. And so the difference though is the term for enthusiast is like a really tech spec quality oriented guy, and the gamer likes an experience, and the gamer likes part of the entertainment aspect. And so I do believe that we will see quote unquote enthusiast grade gamer products really become very big in 2022, especially peripherals. There's after you build your high-end system, even if it's $1,000 PC, if you're building $1,000 PC, that is non-trivial to your life. From there, after that system's built, you look at your gaming and your computing experience, and you start to upgrade your peripherals to be in line with the system you've just built. And that's where this sort of gamer enthusiast like nexus is really starting to come to head. So like I know the question was like, who is this keyboard for? This keyboard is for that tipping point where the gamers meet the enthusiasts. And I think that time is coming in 2022.
Phantom says it'd be nice to see more detail of the internals to show the mounting methods if you guys can. It's kind of hard to picture how everything mounts internally based on the description. So here you go. There's a call to. Actually Brad's thing too.
Do you have? Hang on.
Do you want me to pull it up?
Is that in Keeb chat?
Yeah, I think.
I can download that. This computer, I don't have the mechanical files for the Keeb. I only have an older industrial design file.
Got it.
Was that in Keep Chat or was it Alpha Chat?
I think it was.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, it is in Keep Project. Yeah.
Okay, hang on.
Which is funny, I think. Also, Phantom, with you asking that, I think during our like 1 a.m. stint or something, I was running around with renders. But this is a cool like. If it's the picture that I think he's going to be putting up, then this is the. There it is. Yeah.
So this kind of breaks down the different groups of what's inside the casing. It's pretty packed full of PCB from all the lighting that's running around the inside. But I'll work my way from the front to the back, naming everything, and then I'll walk through it again. We are a traditional gasket mount, but we're doing it in a way that we're calling suspended gasket, because we've got this bridge up here, which is part of the really extreme typing angle that we're starting with, and because we have this injected polycarbonate base. So you have your silicone gasket, and that's sandwiched between the aluminum plate and then our gasket bridge, which are both aluminum. We have our PCB running front to back here, and then we have a wedge-shaped silicone damper. Anyone who caught it, we're basically using a material that's very similar to a purple mattress. That was totally the inspiration. I have one of these like little purple mattress, like 3-inch silicone things, and we did some testing on how that absorbs sound around a switch, and it was kind of like the perfect density to absorb the transient unwanted pings while still giving you like a really clean, satisfying sound. In here in the yellow, this is the magnetic riser, so you could pitch up the angle a little bit more. But yeah, if you look inside, it's a relatively normal gasket mount, but we've made a few tweaks that we think make it more detached from the rest of the chassis while still feeling very stable.
And it's funny you say that, because how I explain it is the design of the keeb itself can't lend to a normal gasket mount at all, because the curvature and the sculpt of the ID itself has particularly kind of like head scratched us to make this gasket bridge architecture, to make a gasket mount that still works with the architecture, the final architecture, and the light blades, and the positioning of all the RGB that's required on this board. Let's see. I'm confused on what actually makes the price what it is. It seems like above all we are supposed to pay to see if things can be done. As if it's bought and research, funding time, zero promise, and here unmanufacturable. I mean, I think that is the biggest.
I think
all enthusiast keyboards, right?
Well, I think I can cover. I think that's speaking less about the price and more about us doing an interest check. I think there was a lot of confusion that became animosity around this idea that we, as a sub-brand of an established company, should not be coming into the geekhack interest check forum to try to do a group buy for our initial 1,000 pieces. And that, like as King already mentioned, it was really more to, hey, we're about to make this thing. What do you guys think about it? Do you like it? What's your feedback? We're going to do pre-orders. We weren't trying to raise money to go and do these. We absolutely have the funds to take this to market. And it's not about us wanting to like de-risk doing this product on the backs of geekhack. We just were not aware of the idea that an interest check could only be for a group buy. As for the pricing, I kind of already covered that the aluminum top is more than half of the BOM cost. And that's it right there. Part of this product, if you buy this product, that is an asset to you. That is a large part of the cost. If you are someone who looks at this keyboard and you're like, that does nothing for me, I would rather have something more rectangular, and I'm happy with that. Why is yours so expensive? It's the curves. And you gotta want those to see them as an asset. And so we've had a really great response on different parts of the internet, and locally, anyone who's held it, they're ready to buy. So just don't discount the things that everybody knows are expensive that no one's trying to do, because they are expensive.
Yeah, and to be clear too, like I think I speak for all of us, that what has happened over the geekhack IC, we realized that going into that was definitely the wrong approach, and what it was taken to be, right? It definitely seems like a big company comes in, advertises to a crowd that is meant for individuals to raise money to create the product of their dreams.
Yeah, and the idea that this is like a cash grab, the amount of money we've put into this project, we will not be profitable on this keyboard. Like, this is an investment in getting us involved in the enthusiast keyboard market. We understand that we are doing things that are it's exploration. We're trying to find a certain path that no one has gone on before. It is not cheap. This is not profiteering. We are not there are no guaranteed profits ahead of us by doing this. This is an entirely passion-driven product. we happily, we have a lot of experience making components, as I mentioned earlier, cases, liquid coolers, power supplies, all of those sort of things we do very, very well and have a ton of experience producing in the tens of thousands of units a month. Going and doing this keyboard and doing it the way that I've just laid out, being entirely around making the user happy, that is a quick way to spend a lot of money. And so I like it really couldn't be further from the truth that this is a cash grab.
Yeah, this is a Halo product.
This is a Hail
by all
Mary
means.
product.
Yes. Yeah.
And I will absolutely reiterate, if we wanted to, if like, I can tell you what a cash grab would have looked like. It would have been us going and buying a bunch of Rama works, measuring them out, tweaking them 5%, producing them in a normally producible manner at competitive quality standards, and putting it out for less money. That's what a cash grab is. It's not designing something that most people think is kind of weird and more expensive than other stuff. It's not that.
I love your personal touches that add a lot of character. Just seems odd that you weren't seeking feedback from everybody until 1 week before launch. Was all that feedback internal until this point? It wasn't. This is always going to be a touchy subject, but I think there's a timeline. I put a timeline in, even the collaborations and feedback, and good pieces of information about like our discussions. But of course, it's gonna head into kind of like Apiary and Alex Soto's feedback here too. But like we really held them to such high regard that there was a continual discussion. They've seen every proto leading up to that, and so. Yeah, there was feedback there. Is that enough? I would certainly say no, right? And was it too condensed in that week of launching it? And did the CES launch absolutely pressurize the situation? It did. And so again, my feedback to that and my written words of that is, I think we all have this kind of like sigh of relief in making sure that we could be here more. And to see what we could do to go forward, regardless if it's SR65 and a project forward. So.
And to be completely clear, again, this is our first keyboard. It is not. It is the first time we are manufacturing a keyboard like this. There is a huge difference in what it takes to consume a product and what it takes to create the product, and my entire career, what has really done very well for me is to make what I really enjoy, and then we start to bring other people into the fold from there. It's difficult to share an idea with people and then have them absorb it, and so you kind of have to take it to a certain maturation point. So you can have the idea, you could do your sketches, you could take those sketches into 3D, then do the 3D into photorealistic renders, and then from that point, that's when you can start to get a better idea of what people think, and you expand the circle and get the feedback. We did that path of getting feedback and expanding that circle, but then obviously there's still a huge delta between the circle we're working with and geekhack users. The world is really diverse, and when we run in our own circles, sometimes we get stuck in having a certain idea of how things should be, and we were definitely in a different direction than a lot of the people that were responding.
We got Lucifer. I think he's throwing the word unmanufacturable because you did mention that.
I'm a
the geekhack credit. It seems to mean a lot of things, and in some case negative to the point where that he may be afraid that this thing will never be produced. But clearly we have a physical version of this. But
yeah, I'll be very clear, guys. Like I'm product team, and the way I talk is very non-sensationalist. I use the terms that define the situation, and it's a big part of why I only come in and do town halls and not write like a lot of copy text or respond to forum posts or Discord very much. I use the terms that objectively define the situation. And so what unmanufacturable means is that in the limitations of our price and time, we were told it cannot be manufactured. And then we worked with the factory to massage the time that we needed it to be delivered in and what our margin structure would be to make this acceptable. And we made it possible. So literally, if you hear someone say it's unmanufacturable and then it becomes manufacturable, it basically means that they're making less money and it's going to take more time. That's the change between unmanufacturable and manufacturable.
Hope that helps. And also, yes, but you can be sensationalist. You definitely can be sensationalist.
But I can't admit that because when it breaks the mystique of how objective I am. It's just passion, it's honest passion.
Yeah. I know we have voxel mods in here. Really cool that you're here today. Guys, voxel mods. And Weston, I don't know if they know you guys or not, but voxel mods is in the room. Just wanted to give him a shout out. He is on that collaboration list that I put under the key product threads. I don't know if you guys know him or have seen some of his work, but I guess I see the word truth bomb. I'll truth bomb this as well. We have been working with Voxel to produce like really badass cables for our unveil in CES, which was disappointingly canceled, and makes both of us really, really, really sad because they were supposed to be on display and there'd be like a ton of like people running around and seeing things, and ultimately like I had to give him the message yesterday too that like I'm sad out of my mind and depressed that this isn't happening. And we went and did this crazy rush thing to make these awesome cables. Voxel, at your disclosure, you could share what those look like. I think they're badass. There isn't really a specific embargo now that the CES event isn't happening. So if you want to say what's up, the mod team is here, but I'll just happily lift your mute just to say what's up. I definitely want you to say hi, and thank you for coming, of course.
He's unmuted if he wants to.
Oh, he is unmuted. Okay, great. Does he have to unmute himself?
Yes.
Oh my God! So he's dropping it in there. So I would love for you to explain this if you have capability to do that, or I will completely butcher it if you wanted me to. Badass cable.
It's totally in the spirit too of being able to put lighting and color where you want lighting and color, not even in a minimal way, but just very constrained and refined. I love it.
Nice. He says he's working on the mic. Yeah. And guys, like us reaching out to all of these collaborators there was such a special energy going into CES with this. I want to say that like collaborating with Voxel, God, it's been such a journey, and I feel like it's only been like a couple days in discussion with you, but like the cable that he has in front of us right now was to match, very special editions of the keeb SR65 on the ground, and it's so sad that can't be displayed in a more, I don't know, beautified manner. I mean, we'll take them, and we'll take photos with them because these are absolutely at this moment one-to-one matching cable sets. There is talk of us doing collaborative effort to have this be the official cable to match the SR65 editions. But do note that is a future thing, and we now have to obviously rethink how that strategy is going to go because that was part of an unveil in CES. And Rob, you were going to say something.
I wanted to thank McLovin. When we started this project, it was basically like the way that this project started was we were really early in being HYTE, and we had a carryover project from iBuyPower that ultimately got released under HYTE, which was the Revolt 3. But at the time, we didn't have a roadmap. We didn't have anything forward looking into what was the future of this company going to be. And when we arrived at keyboard, we all knew we really wanted to do a keyboard, and then it was like, okay, we know how to make like the iBuyPower system bundle keyboard, but how do we where do we start on making a really good enthusiast keyboard? And McLovin was like an incredibly useful partner in us figuring out what are our first steps to take. And I hope that we work with them in the future once the board's launched, and work with them to offer third-party boards. That'd be really cool for the keeb.
Yeah, and to be clear with McLovin specifically too, we're having constant discussions with them as current as of yesterday. So we do open our doors to kind of cool collaborations. I see Weston, I think you unmuted, so if you wanted to, we do want to thank you for
Hi guys.
What's up, man? How's it going, man? I still love the work. Every time I see it, man, it's
Thank you so much. These were a real joy to work on. Yeah, so one of the things that we really tried to incorporate with these cables was how the light would, from those light pipes, how those would hit the cable. So all of the TechFlex has been chosen to have kind of reflective properties, and then, we went with yellow accents. And if you guys want, I can drop the other two photos in here as well.
Yeah, go for it. They think there's only one cable.
No,
Please
and
drop them.
and in hearing you talk about that is what's really exciting, because when you start to do one thing differently and the ecosystem loves it, the ecosystem gets to do new and exciting things too. So when you have all that lighting up your desk mat on your desk, and it's bouncing off the back of your cable, if Voxelmods is able to do something that absorbs light in a unique way, knowing that light will be on the keyboard, again, that just is one more step in the right direction of a really incredibly refined experience.
Yeah, this is nuts. And this is the perfect example of the TechFlex being kind of like an absorber and a dispersal of light type material that sits perfectly behind. Oh God, he does it again. Here's that one. Gold saber. Let's
Thank
go.
you guys.
Let's go.
Hey, and
These are all three of them.
gorgeous.
Yeah, so this was meant to be launching physically in person. Weston can vouch how pressured we all were, I think, to get that kind of into the show. We promise that when we receive these, we will do it justice. We'll do our best to.
It was definitely worth the grind.
And it's such a great reflection of the idea of trying to stay color neutral with the hardware and letting the light do the coloring. I know right now in the enthusiast world, RGB is not the most beloved thing, but I think we're going to start to show you guys what are the ways that you can use colored lighting to be more than just gamer bro aesthetic, and start to make it be something where you don't wear the same color shirt every day. Why would you buy peripherals that can have to be the same color every day? And that's going to be really exciting. By the way, King, do you think everyone in here has seen the Reddit post with the screen mirroring? How responsive that actually is?
I don't know. I don't think so. So let's drop that in there. I have probably the worst version of that in the
I've got
that
the.
I started here, but you probably have the best version.
I know it does something weird with the HDR because I shot it on the iPhone, but the Dropbox link seems to look the best. But
Oh wow.
what I
Okay.
can do is share my screen, and then
This was the Mark II.
this is a Mark One. So
Oh, Mark One. Okay.
yeah, so I'm gonna mute it. But the best part is like we wanted to make something that was like immersive, but that you didn't have to build out into your whole room and you didn't have to put something on your face. And oh, and for everybody crying diffusion right now, mockup one. To make the mockup with no diffusion, half the price of making a mockup with any diffusion. So this was just like we're gonna put the LEDs in there and we're gonna just see how that looks. If we added diffusion, it would be more difficult for us to diagnose some of the manufacturability issues. So please, I know the shine through just like it's the brightest, most undiffused thing in the world. Please bear with us. But the idea was we wanted to make something that made the digital world leap into the physical world without you having to set up lights on your monitor or hang things on your wall. When you're using a computer, you have the same peripheral view, and that's of your keyboard, your mouse, your desk mat, and the keyboard has already had some experience being RGB, but it has no one's taken it to the place where it's 60 frames per second, like low latency, like monitor grade reflection latency, so that it could kind of make you feel immersed in the game. And when you're more immersed in a game, your heart rate is higher. The threat of what is happening on the screen is more real, and you are playing at a higher pace. And so I know we're talking to a lot of enthusiasts here, but when you do play a game and your keyboard is splashing the light into your physical world, your brain thinks it's more real and you're going to try a little bit harder. And so that is a big push for what we're working on here with the RGB. Again, it's really all about your emotion. Do you feel like this is immersive? Do you feel like you have to try a little harder? Do you feel like you're really enjoying this? And that's what we wanted to achieve with the lighting here, and that's why all the lighting is proportionally spaced. The outer lights are at the same DPI. This one isn't. You can see they're a little off here. We fixed like all of that so that it's a very uniform lighting experience from the keys to the outer blades. And then those outer blades we put on there because like I know the cyberboard is out there, and I know there's been some like higher class attempts at RGB, but no one's like tried to do anything with that light and try to make it something that like usually that light you don't want to look directly at, and I wanted to do something where you're like that light looks incredible.
That's very
Oh,
possible.
and real quick, like that's why those voxel mods cables are so amazing. Is because of all like they're partnered with that light working extra hard.
So cool. Yeah, we don't know specifically what the collab with Voxel or when that is supposed to release. There was a whole effort in talking about how it would happen, the copy, that was all sort of planned for, and then of course things went sideways. Doesn't mean that'll happen though. Myself specifically spent the last 24 hours unwinding what was to be CES, unfortunately, but West and I look forward to our discussions about how to move forward from this.
I look forward to it too.
Let me see. And you asked yourself, have you guys talked about RGB lights can push a theme? Always like to set him purple for his own setup. Might be great to see single color renders. That's just a selfish ask. I love it. So let's
Single color renders.
wants one in purple. I think he just definitely wants to stare at what
Let me see how quickly I can do that. This is a older model too, so like don't be confused. Is it showing, King?
Yeah, it is. Here you go, Weston. Here's your
I think I can just...
Thank you. No, it's not just purple. Like let's say Red Samurai is a really popular set right now. So you know, you could set them to red. You know, there you go, red.
We want red. Let's see. This is a really
I
quick
did
and
want
sloppy
purple.
way. Oh,
Okay, so your
purple.
preference is
Okay.
purple.
Like a Barney purple, like a royal
What's the soft purple
soft purple.
or royal? Either.
Ooh, can I leak what Kat just put in the Keeb project channel?
I'm afraid to open anything from Microsoft Teams while streaming.
Oh, here. Okay, well, it's a photo of it in someone's hands.
Oh my goodness.
Can
There we go.
can I drop it?
Sure.
Oh god, this looks good. Okay, so
There we go.
here's my attempt at leaking stuff. Thoughts?
Oh my gosh. Who got that award?
It was for calling corporate. Whoops.
That's gorgeous.
Right? Yeah, it's the first time I'm seeing it, by the way. That was literally dropped in that channel 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, I haven't seen that photo. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
it's incredible. Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, what do you so like and we would really appreciate, like, how do you guys feel about that nickel plated? Like, is that something, like, does that make the difference between, okay, this is exciting, and like, oh, I don't understand the curves? Do the curves work better in a high polished nickel mirror?
I mean, even for myself, dude, it is like 100% convincing me. I see the bladed skull so much easier in
Yeah.
this. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because it's so shiny that you see the light bend around.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, it's a complicated structure for even the mind to understand on first glance, because you've got this sort of overhang, and I can tell you, it's very difficult to manufacture. We gave this design to our partners, and they were very, very concerned about how to manufacture this overhang here, especially the underside. Even with CNC, it's a lot. And in that nickel plated finish, it looks insane.
Yeah, that is dope. It's funny because it looks like it's Kat took a photo of it on a screen, and now I just kind of like, okay, can you just export
The recording I shared with everybody is a recording of my screen, so this is like a very elusive finish right now internally.
Jeffy, would be too bright if I use at the beach, but if I was drowning, the lifeguards would see me faster if I waved it from the water. Yes.
I mean, you can.
That's true.
That's it's
Thank
good.
you, Jeffy, for
It's good to keep valuable things on your person when you're drowning.
Yeah, especially when you're surfing.
Something, if you guys see my screen here with the purple render, you can see the diffusion's not perfect in this model, but what happens with the light is, as it fires up from down below on the LED, the light pipe itself has like a really hard contrast. And so on the inside, you're getting this sort of fade back on the lighting, and then it sort of goes into darkness, and then you have a hard cut again where the light pipe starts.
Oh,
And so,
I actually don't think they knew that the per LEDs on these pipes. So there's one per.
yeah,
per
one
blade.
one LED per blade, so you have a full like channel here of lighting, and it just looks bonkers when it's played out on a table. I think I won't show a video of like it actually going full tilt, but maybe we do this next week when the sample's in hand, and
Yeah.
each one of these blades is basically a pixel, and it lights up the whole area around the keyboard. So it's not like keyboard lighting, it's like your desk is lighting up. And you can see how much depth there is in the design, where you look at it head on and the blades are really skinny and there's full gaps in between, but when you turn it, they start to close up on each other. And so the side view is very different from the head-on view. It's very like deep perspective that you can get on it, and it changes at every angle. And since I'm on the angle, this is probably my favorite perspective on the keyboard. If you notice, the actual body of the keyboard aligns perfectly with the center of the rotary encoder, and this was just one of those like perfect detail things that was just like,
that's the what is it, the black hole?
Yeah, the concept of the black hole, where the top of the casing is designed for the human, and then the bottom of the casing is the digital world pushing itself into the physical world, and they meet on this line, which kind of comes up on the black hole of the scroll wheels right here.
Anybody have any other questions to I mean, we could go on and ramble all day. So.
Yeah. We could probably start to wrap it up if you guys have final questions.
So we want to try to make this like a weekly thing. I'll try to do that. I'm gonna also too, guys, like just in the effort of again like making sure to wrap all of this up together nicely and neatly. For all the things that have been asked today too, I'll be updating the FAQ updates. If there was something like super critical that you really needed me to add a section on, I have like 2 or 3 other sections to add to this myself. Like, but outside of that, if it hasn't been answered here, or if you need another question answered, just feel free to ping me. I'll definitely be in this thread going forward. Oh God, she leaked another photo, man.
It's unstoppable.
Look at this. Seriously.
She's unstoppable.
Yeah, she's nuts. She's nuts. So,
by the way, I
it
already
feels like Cybertruckish, right? So, no,
Cybertruck.
I don't know.
I think it's Cybertruck in spirit, but in design, it's in design. The thing is, there's just not a lot of these. There's not a lot of curvy products out there. As many people have mentioned, it's very uneconomical to make things this way. And I think we're at a point in maturity for keyboards that the upper echelon should get their curves.
Well, yeah, just to wrap this up, guys, too, again, I will take many, or if not all, the questions that we have that have been asked. Anything that needs to clarify, further clarification, I will put in the FAQ and updates section. And Rob says giveaways coming soon. Okay.
I think
don't know what those are,
we,
but
I mean,
sure.
we definitely gave one away already, right?
That's true.
We within I think before we even announced it, we gave away.
Someone guessed your rotary.
Yeah. So I said like. I wanted to give.
Oh, Solsky did.
Yeah, this guy right here. He changed his avatar. He used to be E.T. and now he's Mario. He's right. He was E.T.
Well, since he changed his avatar.
The disc. You know, I think we got to give away another one.
Yeah, we definitely wanted the E.T.
But no, we guys. A big part of this is trying to build a community, and that means having people wanting to understand what we're doing. It's really easy to look at something that's very different and dismiss it because you know it's not what you already own, and if you don't already own it, then it can't be right. That kind of mentality is really difficult to get past. So we really appreciate everybody coming in and listening to what we have to say today, and we will definitely be rewarding with giveaways regularly to help get the word out, and so we really appreciate you coming and listening to what we have to say about this product.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending the first town hall on Keeb SR65. We will be back next week. We'll try to schedule this out, and hopefully by then I will have all the threads updated. Rob, thank you so much for your time, man. I know it's kind of nutty pull you aside sometimes. So
No, it's no
thank
problem.
you even for coming out.
Next week I'll be able to do this meeting in front of a keeb, so I'll be happy to do this.
Sweet.
Thank you,
We
everybody.
just tease them. I should just build like my old switches in front of one too. For next week. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, please look us up with any questions you guys have, and please have a great rest of the night.
Thank you.
Thank you.